In the dimly lit chamber of the prestigious Astral Academy, a group of Shockfest students gazed in awe at a holographic display. The projection shattered their understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy. Leading the group was Roran, a brilliant Lorian historian driven by an unrelenting quest for knowledge. Initially, their task had been straightforward: a thorough examination of historical military documents for their interspecies relations class. However, the deeper they delved, the more the official account fell apart. The humanity they had been taught about was a minor entity on the galactic stage, a fledgling race limited to a few distant star systems. Yet, the records revealed a different narrative. Fragmentary evidence suggested that humanity had played a crucial role in the Ince War, a savage conflict scarcely mentioned in their studies. Redacted files, classified documents, and entire battles erased from the public eye formed a distinct pattern. Risking expulsion or worse, Roran's team hacked into the Academy's secure archives, only to uncover astonishing truths. Humanity had not merely participated in the Ince War, they had single-handedly shattered the Kryn Imperium. Grainy video logs displayed human soldiers outnumbered, yet executing guerrilla tactics with a tenacity that left the galaxy in shock. Most chilling were the accounts of Gerald Coulson, a legendary warrior who, despite grievous injuries, dragged his broken body from one victory to another. The records painted a terrifying image. Humans fought not just to win, but as if defeat were inconceivable. Each fallen comrade only ignited their righteous fury. The Kryn Imperium had learned it was better to die by one's own hand than to be captured by humans. To their astonishment, Roran and his team realized that the Imperium's withdrawal from Anaris was, in fact, a covert surrender, an attempt to avoid extinction at the hands of a supposedly inferior race. The implications crashed over them like an explosion. If a single human colony could achieve such feats, what might a united Earth accomplish? The powers that be had buried the truth, hoping humanity would never discover its own formidable potential. Now, however, the secret was out. As Roran copied every piece of data, he knew there was no turning back. The revelation could reshape the galaxy, but remaining silent was not an option. The universe deserved to know the truth about humanity and brace for what was to come. In the weeks that followed, Roran and his team threw themselves into their covert research with a fervor bordering on obsession. Sleep became a luxury as they sifted through every piece of information on Gerald Coulson and the enigmatic specters. Liera, in particular, struggled with the implications of their findings. "If all this is true," she murmured one night, her eyes reflecting the flickering data streams, "then everything we've been taught is a lie. The Galactic Council, the textbooks, all of it." Roran could only nod, feeling his own knees weaken. Each new revelation seemed to unveil another layer of a vast conspiracy, exposing a galaxy built on secrets and fear. It was a relief when Zack finally made contact, his voice crackling over a scrambled channel. "I've got someone you need to meet," he said without preamble. "A Kryn general who fought against the humans at Anaris. Trust me, he's got stories you need to hear." Meeting with General Kazan was tense and shadowy, conducted in the dim recesses of a CI spaceport dive. The old Kryn warrior bore the scars of countless battles, his exoskeleton pitted and scorched. "You want to know about Gerald Coulson?" Kazan rasped, his mandibles twitching. "I'll tell you that human was a demon on the battlefield. I saw him take on an entire Kryn platoon single-handedly. Blades, bullets. He nearly took a plasma cannon to the face. Nothing could stop him." Roran leaned forward, heart pounding. "But why bury the truth? Why hide what the humans did?" Kazan let out a bitter laugh. "You think the Council wants the galaxy to know that a bunch of hairless apes brought the Imperium to its knees? That if humans ever united, they could wipe us all out? Better to keep them from fighting, push them to the fringes, and hope they never realize what they're truly capable of." These words echoed in Roran's mind as he formulated a daring plan with his team: to find Coulson himself and hear the truth from the source. It was a reckless gamble, but one they felt compelled to take. However, as they plotted and planned, trouble was brewing. Whispers of their unauthorized data access had reached the Academy's administration, sparking a quiet yet urgent investigation. Every shadow seemed to harbor a potential informant, every channel a trap waiting to be sprung. Liera was the first to voice their collective fear. "What if we're wrong?" she asked, her voice tight with tension. "What if the truth is buried for a reason? What if revealing it causes more harm than good?" Roran had no easy answers, but he was certain of one thing. The path they had chosen was fraught with peril. As they worked to secure a ship and chart a course to the distant human colony, the weight of the galaxy's secrets pressed down on them. Amid these preparations, a mysterious message arrived from someone identified only as Agency, claiming to represent a faction within the Galactic Council. "I know what you seek," the message read. "I can help you find it, but you must trust me." Roran stared at the cryptic words, a mix of hope and suspicion swirling within him. An ally within the council could be invaluable, but what if it was a trap? Could they afford to trust a faceless stranger with so much at stake? He glanced around at his team. Liera, worried. The others, exhausted yet determined. They had come too far to turn back now. With a deep breath, Roran made his decision. His fingers flew over the console, tapping out a response to the enigmatic Agency. "We're in," he wrote. "Tell us what we need to do." As he hit send, Roran felt a curious blend of fear and exhilaration. They were about to embark on a journey into the unknown, a quest that could change the galaxy forever. And though the path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, one thing was clear. There was no turning back now. The encrypted message from Agency burned in Roran's mind as he piloted the small, nondescript vessel through the swirling nebula. His team huddled around the cramped cockpit, eyes fixed on the screen as they navigated the treacherous cosmic dust. "Proximity alert," Liera called out, her fingers dancing across the sensor readouts. "Patrol cruiser bearing 047. Roran's heart raced as he executed evasive maneuvers, steering their ship behind a dense cluster of asteroids. They waited in tense silence until the patrol cruiser's engine signature finally faded into the distance. "That was too close," Zack muttered, his scales rippling with nervous energy. As the days turned into weeks, Roran immersed himself in the recovered files on Gerald Coulson and the Spectres. He pored over grainy battle footage, decrypted mission logs, and fragmented after-action reports. The more he learned, the more his perception of humanity shifted. One night, as the rest of the team slept, Roran found Liera in the ship's tiny galley. She was nursing a steaming cup of Lorian tea, her eyes distant and troubled. "Can't sleep?" Roran asked softly. Liera shook her head. "I keep thinking about what we're doing. The risks we're taking, is it worth it?" Roran settled beside her, their shoulders nearly touching in the cramped space. "I believe it is," he said. "The truth matters, Liera, no matter how uncomfortable or dangerous it might be." She met his gaze, a spark of understanding passing between them. "I know," she whispered. "I'm just scared." "Me too," Roran admitted, surprising himself with his honesty. As they approached the human colony, the stark reality of their situation became apparent. Noviera loomed before them, a rugged world of harsh deserts and wind-swept plateaus. The contrast to Lorian's gleaming spires and manicured gardens was jarring. They touched down on the outskirts of the main settlement, a sprawling collection of prefab structures and repurposed freighter hulls. Dust swirled around their feet as they disembarked, the acrid tang of the unfamiliar atmosphere burning their lungs. "Remember," Roran cautioned, "we're just a group of xenobiology students on a cultural exchange. Nothing more." They navigated the bustling marketplace, marveling at the ingenuity on display. Humans had adapted discarded alien technology to suit their needs, creating solutions that defied conventional engineering. It took 3 days of careful inquiries and discreet observation before they pinpointed Coulson's residence. The old soldier's home was a converted cargo container perched on a rocky outcropping, offering a commanding view of the surrounding badlands. Roran's palms were slick with nervous sweat as he approached the weathered door. He raised a hand to knock, only for the door to swing open on its own. "I was wondering when you'd work up the nerve to come knocking," a gruff voice called from within. "Don't just stand there gawking. Come in before you let all the sand inside." Exchanging nervous glances, Roran and his team stepped into the dimly lit interior. Gerald Coulson sat in a battered hover chair, his weathered face a map of old scars and new wrinkles. Despite his advanced age, his eyes were sharp and alert, studying each alien visitor in turn. "So, Coulson," Roran said, leaning forward slightly, "you want to tell us about the war?" It wasn't a question. Coulson let out a harsh laugh. "I bet you've learned a lot. Well, pull up a seat. This is going to take a while." For hours, they listened as Coulson recounted desperate battles and improbable victories. He spoke of comrades lost and found, of improvised weapons cobbled together from scrap, of last stands that became legends. "We didn't fight because we wanted to," Coulson said, his voice growing hoarse. "We fought because we had to, because the alternative was extinction." As the old soldier demonstrated some of the physical adaptations that had made humans so formidable, Roran felt a chill. The casual ease with which Coulson endured pain, his lightning-fast reflexes despite his age, were both awe-inspiring and terrifying. When they finally emerged from Coulson's home, the twin suns of Noviera were setting, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold. Roran's mind raced with everything they had learned, the implications threatening to overwhelm him. "We can't keep this hidden," Z insisted as they made their way back to their ship. "The galaxy needs to know the truth." Liera shook her head. "But at what cost? Think of the chaos this could cause." Before Roran could respond, a priority alert chimed on his communicator. His blood ran cold as he read the message from the Academy administration. "We've been discovered." Their expulsion, or worse, loomed large. The weight of their choices pressed heavily on Roran as he looked at his team. They had come so far and risked so much, now standing on the brink of a decision that could reshape galactic society. He realized their journey was just beginning. The fate of human-alien relations hung in the balance, and the choice of what to do next rested squarely on their shoulders. With a grim nod, he activated his communicator. "Agent Z," he said, his voice low, "we need your help." The response came swiftly. Coordinates flashed across the screen. As they made their way through Novera's winding streets, Roran's mind raced. The threat of expulsion was significant, but it paled compared to the gravity of what they had uncovered. The rendezvous point was a dimly lit cargo bay, stacks of shipping containers casting long shadows. A hooded figure emerged from the darkness. Agent Z, her features obscured by a holographic mask. "You've stirred up quite a hornet's nest," she said, her voice distorted. "But you're not alone in your quest for truth." Z led them deeper into the maze of containers, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside, a tall, imposing alien awaited, his scales gleaming in the low light. "Welcome, young scholars," Rar rumbled. "I represent the Prometheans, a faction within the Council dedicated to a more enlightened approach to galactic security." Roran listened intently as Rar outlined their proposition. The Prometheans believed that suppressing humanity's true nature was a grave mistake, one that left the galaxy vulnerable. With the team's evidence and Coulson's testimony, they could force a re-evaluation of human integration. "We can protect you," Rar said, his eyes gleaming. "Provide resources, open doors. All we ask is that you continue your work under our guidance." Liera bristled visibly. "And become pawns in your political game? We should release the information ourselves." Zach, however, leaned forward eagerly. "Think of the influence we could have." As the debate continued, Roran realized that their path was fraught with difficult choices. They had to decide whether to align with the Prometheans or to take the risk of revealing the truth themselves. The fate of human-alien relations, and perhaps the galaxy itself, hung in the balance. The dim light of Novera's twin suns crept through the cracks in the cargo bay's metal walls, casting long, shifting shadows. The Prometheans' hidden chamber was a hive of activity, a stark contrast to the cold, desolate expanse outside. Roran and his team stood in the center of the chamber, tension thick in the air. Rar, the imposing alien, surveyed them with a mix of curiosity and calculation. Agent Z stood at his side, her holographic mask flickering slightly as she shifted her stance. The Prometheans' offer hung heavy between them, an opportunity to continue their investigation with backing, or a chance to risk everything by exposing the truth themselves. "We need to think carefully," Roran said, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. The Prometheans' offer is tempting, but it could also be a trap. Z's voice cut through the murmurs. We understand your hesitation. The Council is fractured, and not all factions are as forward-thinking as the Prometheans. We offer you resources and protection, but we also ask for your trust and discretion. Liera's expression was a mask of worry. And what happens if we refuse? If we take the information public without your backing? Ariar's scales shimmered with an unsettling light as he spoke. The galaxy is not ready for such a revelation. The chaos that would ensue could tear apart the fragile peace we've managed to maintain. Without our support, you risk being hunted by those who wish to keep the truth buried. Zack, ever the optimist, interjected. But if we align with the Prometheans, we can leverage their influence to bring about real change. This could be our chance to set things right. Roran's mind raced as he weighed their options. We've already seen the lengths to which the Council will go to maintain control. Are we prepared to become pawns in a larger political game? Ariar's gaze was intense. We offer you a chance to be more than pawns. With our help, you can be key players in a new era of galactic politics. Roran exchanged glances with his team. Liera's eyes were dark with uncertainty, while Zack's were bright with a mix of hope and determination. He knew their decision would shape not just their futures, but the fate of countless others across the galaxy. We need time to consider, Roran finally said, his voice firm. This is not a decision we can make lightly. Ariar's gaze softened slightly, though his scales still shimmered with an unreadable intensity. Very well. We will give you time. But remember, time is a luxury that may not last. The Council's patience wears thin. With that, Roran and his team were escorted back to their ship, the weight of their decision pressing heavily upon them. As they boarded, the familiar hum of the vessel's engines seemed strangely comforting compared to the tension of the Promethean's chamber. In the cramped cockpit, the team gathered around the hollow table, the same projection that had first revealed the shocking truths about humanity. The data now seemed even more daunting, its implications more profound. I'm not sure we can afford to wait, Liera said quietly, her voice tinged with fear. The longer we hesitate, the more dangerous this becomes. Roran nodded, his expression grim. But if we act impulsively, we risk everything we've worked for. We need to find a balance, understand the full extent of what we're dealing with before we make our move. Zack leaned forward, his fingers tracing patterns on the hollow table. What if we could use the Prometheans' resources to verify our findings further? It might give us the leverage we need, without fully committing to their agenda. Roran considered this. It's a possibility. If we can gather more evidence and strengthen our position, we might be able to control the narrative rather than being controlled by it. The team agreed to split their efforts. Roran and Liera would continue analyzing the data and seeking additional verification, while Zack would discreetly investigate the Prometheans and their true intentions. They needed to be thorough and cautious, knowing that any misstep could have dire consequences. As they set their plan into motion, Roran couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was spiraling beyond their control. The galaxy's secrets were vast and complex, and the line between ally and enemy was increasingly blurred. Over the following days, the crew delved into their respective tasks with intense focus. Roran and Liera pored over the data, uncovering new insights and cross-referencing with other sources to validate their findings. They discovered more about Gerald Coulson and the Spectres, revealing further layers of human resilience and ingenuity. The more they learned, the more they realized the magnitude of the galaxy's deception. Meanwhile, Zack's investigations into the Prometheans revealed a web of intrigue and shifting loyalties. He learned that the Prometheans were indeed a faction dedicated to reform, but they were also deeply enmeshed in the Council's politics, with their own agendas and rivalries. One evening, as the team gathered in the ship's galley, Zack relayed his findings. The Prometheans are genuine in their desire for reform, but they're also playing a high-stakes game. They have enemies within the Council who would do anything to undermine them, and they're not above using us as pawns to advance their own goals. Liera's face was etched with concern. So, we're caught between two powerful forces, both with their own agendas. How do we proceed? Roran rubbed his temples, the weight of their situation pressing heavily upon him. We need to tread carefully. If we expose the truth without the right backing, we risk destabilizing the galaxy. But aligning too closely with the Prometheans could also compromise our integrity. As they debated their next move, a new message arrived, this time from Agency. The encrypted note was brief but urgent. The Council is aware of your investigation. You have a limited window to act. Choose your path wisely. The reality of their predicament hit hard. The Council's awareness meant that their actions were no longer hidden, and the risk of discovery was imminent. Roran knew they had to make a decision quickly. He addressed his team with resolve. We've gathered significant information and verified much of what we initially uncovered. Our choice now is whether to leverage the Promethean support to bring the truth to light or to act independently and risk the consequences. The team fell silent, each member lost in thought. The stakes were higher than ever, and their decision would have far-reaching implications for the galaxy. As the stars of Noviera twinkled outside the viewport, Roran felt the weight of their choice pressing down upon him. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with peril and opportunity. But one thing was clear. Whatever decision they made, it would be a defining moment in their journey and in the galaxy's history. With a deep breath, Roran spoke again, his voice steady but filled with resolve. We need to act, and we need to do it now. Let's prepare to meet with the Prometheans once more and decide how we can use their support to our advantage, while remaining vigilant and prepared for any eventuality. As the team set their plan into motion, Roran couldn't help but feel that their journey was about to take another dramatic turn. The galaxy's secrets were now on the brink of exposure, and the choices they made in the coming days would shape the course of history. The starship, Eclipse, glided silently through the dark expanse of space, its silhouette cutting through the void. Inside, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Roran, Liera, Zack, and the rest of their team were preparing for what could be the most crucial step in their mission, meeting with the Prometheans again to finalize their decision. The team gathered in the ship's briefing room, a compact space dominated by a holographic display. The screen flickered with data streams and schematics, a testament to their relentless research over the past few weeks. "All right, everyone," Roran began, his tone firm. "We've analyzed the information and verified the core of our findings. The Prometheans are our best option for gaining access to the resources we need to expose the truth. But we need to approach this carefully. We're dealing with powerful forces and hidden agendas." Liera nodded, her face serious. "We need to ensure that whatever deal we make with the Prometheans does not compromise our integrity. We should leverage their support to uncover the truth, not to advance their political aims." Zack, who had been studying the Prometheans' hierarchy and their rival factions, spoke up. "I found that while the Prometheans are sincere in their intent, they're also deeply involved in council politics. They have their own enemies, and their support could come with strings attached. We need to be cautious." The ship's intercom crackled to life. "Approaching rendezvous point," announced the navigator's voice. The team exchanged determined looks and made their way to the docking bay. The rendezvous point was a secretive, heavily fortified space station known as the Tempest, orbiting a desolate moon. Its exterior was sleek and imposing, a stark contrast to the rugged landscape of Noviera. As the Eclipse docked, the team prepared for another meeting with the enigmatic Prometheans. The air inside the Tempest was cool and sterile, a contrast to the more informal setting of their previous meeting. Agent Z greeted them in the docking bay, her holographic mask now a calm blue. "Welcome back," she said, her voice calm but with an underlying urgency. "RAR is waiting for you in the briefing chamber." The team followed Z through a labyrinth of corridors until they reached the briefing chamber, a high-tech room with panoramic views of the surrounding space. RAR awaited them, his imposing form silhouetted against the backdrop of stars. "Thank you for coming," RAR rumbled, his voice echoing slightly in the spacious chamber. "We appreciate your patience. We have much to discuss." The Promethean leader gestured for them to sit. As the team settled into their seats, RAR began to outline the next phase of their collaboration. "We have reviewed the data you provided, and it aligns with our intelligence," RAR said. "The Prometheans are prepared to offer you support, but we must be strategic. The Council's internal politics are complex, and our enemies are watching closely." Zack leaned forward. "What kind of support are we talking about?" Resources, access to information, or something more? Ariar's scales glimmered as he responded. All of the above. We can provide you with additional data, access to classified archives, and discrete channels for communication. However, we require your cooperation in a crucial task. There are factions within the Council that will use your findings to undermine our efforts. We need to ensure that our support does not backfire. Liera raised an eyebrow. And what is this crucial task? Ariar's eyes gleamed with a mix of anticipation and caution. We need you to infiltrate a high-level council meeting where a decision will be made about the future of human integration. Your presence will allow us to gather intelligence on the council's stance and prevent any maneuvers that could derail our progress. Roran felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Infiltrating a council meeting is risky. What if we're discovered? Z interjected. We have developed disguises and cover identities for you. You will be attending as representatives of a neutral research organization. But you must remain cautious. The Council's security is tight, and any slip-up could jeopardize not only your mission but also our efforts. The team exchanged worried glances, but Roran's resolve was unwavering. We'll do it. The truth needs to be exposed, and we need to protect our integrity. Rar nodded approvingly. Very well. We will provide you with the necessary resources and intelligence. But remember, the Council's reaction to your presence could be unpredictable. Be prepared for anything. As the team prepared for their mission, they were acutely aware of the stakes. Their actions would not only determine the outcome of their investigation, but also influence the balance of power within the galaxy. The next day, they boarded a sleek, nondescript shuttle provided by the Prometheans, heading toward the Council's central hub, a sprawling complex of towering spires and intricate architecture. The shuttle docked at a concealed entrance, and the team, clad in their disguises, made their way into the heart of Council territory. The interior of the complex was a hive of activity, with diplomats and officials moving purposefully through the corridors. The team followed their carefully crafted cover identities, blending in with the crowd as they approached the Council chamber. Inside the chamber, the atmosphere was tense. Representatives from various factions were already seated, their voices a murmur of anticipation. The team took their places among the attendees, their disguises concealing their true identities. As the meeting began, Roran observed the proceedings with a mix of apprehension and determination. The Council's discussion was dominated by debates over human integration, the very topic that had driven their investigation. The Prometheans' enemies were indeed present, their voices loud and critical. They argued against any concessions to humanity, pushing for a stricter stance and more isolationist policies. The team listened intently, gathering valuable information about the Council's divisions and the potential impact of their findings. Hours passed, and the tension in the chamber grew palpable. The team's mission was to gather as much information as possible while remaining undetected. They had to balance their need for intelligence with the risk of exposure. As the meeting neared its conclusion, a critical vote was announced. The outcome of this vote could have far-reaching implications for humanity's place in the galaxy. Roran's heart pounded as the representatives cast their votes, the results tallied, and the decision was revealed. The Council had reached a tentative agreement to consider a more inclusive approach to human integration, but the proposal was fraught with conditions and compromises. The team's presence had made an impact, but the political landscape remained volatile. As they made their way out of the chamber, they knew that their mission was far from over. The data they had gathered would be crucial in shaping their next steps. Back on the Tempest, the team debriefed with Rar and Z, presenting their findings and discussing the implications of the Council's decision. This is a significant development, Rar said, his voice tinged with both hope and caution. The Council's agreement to consider human integration is a step forward, but it's clear that the road ahead will be challenging. We must remain vigilant and strategic in our approach. Z nodded. The Council's factions are deeply divided. Your actions have shifted the balance, but the situation is fluid. We must continue to gather intelligence and build alliances. As the team prepared to leave the Tempest and return to their investigations, Roran felt the weight of their mission pressing upon him. The galaxy was a complex web of power and politics, and their journey had only just begun. The truth about humanity's role in the galaxy was within reach, but the path to uncovering it would be fraught with danger and uncertainty. The team was determined to press on, knowing that their actions could shape the future of galactic relations. With a sense of resolve and anticipation, they set their course for their next destination, ready to face the challenges ahead and to continue their quest for the truth.